just know that the IRS is watching.
Right.
And if you a rapper, just know that the courts is watching too.
Ooh, tell them about it. Tell them about it, because that is actually going to be a segment called our Spotlight. And for those of you who don't know, our Spotlight is basically when we give credit and shine a light on someone doing something positive in the community, right? So we had to start off with the light roast, get the criticism out of the way, but we like to end it on a good note.
Yeah.
So T, tell us what's going on, because you said something about the courts are watching the rappers. What is going on here?
Yeah, so I don't know if y'all have heard, but in New York and other states as well, the courts have been using rap lyrics to indict and help like convict some people that are defendants in court cases. So Jay-Z and Meek Mill have actually spearheaded a campaign to change New York law to prevent rap lyrics from being used as evidence in criminal trials. So several entertainers and prominent academics have joined the cause, such as Robin Thicke, Kelly Rowland, Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, and Robin D.G. Kelly. Shout out to UCLA. And y'all might ask, T. Shaw, now what is the problem with using lyrics in court? If they snitching on themselves, they snitching on themselves, right? And I'm gonna give you two reasons. I think the first is that it assumes that rap lyrics are literal confessions rather than an act of storytelling and entertainment. So the genius of rap is that it is able to paint a picture, like a picture of real life, right? Real life conditions that people are facing. But just like the show Power or Snowfall, it doesn't have to be a historical account, right? And we can take a literal example of Tekashi 6ix9ine. We don't like him. He a cultural appropriator. He's a vulture. He's a snitch, right? But when he was on trial, they did the same exact thing to him. They took his lyrics to try to convict him, right? And what he explains and what we find out is that nothing about his persona or lyrics were real. They were unauthentic, and his gang affiliation were purely for optics and clout. It gave him the image of being a gang member so that he could be popular in the streets, and he blew up. He definitely blew up, and it worked. But that shows that those lyrics weren't real. Another example, King Pusha T, right? Pusha T, 1 in every 5 bars of Pusha T has a drug reference. You would think that Pusha T is out here selling crack rocks, bro, like it's the 1980s. But he doesn't actually even sell drugs anymore, and he never sold drugs to the extent in which he talks about it, right? But when he talks about it, and you hear him talk about why he talks about drugs, he talks about the economic. He talks about the storytelling aspect that some people are living this life, and there are hidden messages in there that if you're only focusing on just the drugs, that you're missing the whole story. So I think that is a big reason that lyrics aren't literal. I think that it's important for us to know that. I mean, some people get their stuff ghostwrited too, right? And then the second one is that it's exclusively happening to hip hop, and it heavily relies on these racist assumptions and beliefs. So lyrics are presented to juries to paint a picture of these young men as gangbangers, as thugs, and associated with some type of niggatry, right? And it preys on the jury's fears already, these historic fears that these people are violent, that they're hypermasculine, and that they're a danger to the community. Shout out to the law professor. Her name's Andrea Dennis, and she's actually writing a book called Rap on Trial, I believe. Rap Music on Trial. So, and one last example, there was actually a Louisiana judge. Have you ever heard of NBA Youngboy? The judge told him that your genre of music has a lot to do with the mindset that people have, and that your genre normalizes violence, rather than understanding that the genre is a reflection of the conditions in which these systems that we talked about, from these bills and these history. If we can't talk about history, then we won't know how these systems have created like a system for these conditions for people, right? Absolutely. So are we saying that rap music creates violence, or violence is reflected in rap music, right? Are people just telling the stories of the things that they see? So without rap music, do you think people still be shooting each other? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I think that is just important for us to think about, like, how music videos and rap lyrics are being used as literal, irrefutable evidence in court. But when we see a cell phone video of a police shooting an unarmed black man or unarmed black woman, or kneeling on the neck, that people are asking for more context, right? I want us to understand how like disassociated we have to be to come to those conclusions. So for more understanding, I want y'all to check out there's an article in the New Yorker called "The Controversial Use of Rap Lyrics as Evidence" by Brianna Younger, and then there's a book from that professor I just talked about called "Rap on Trial: Race, Lyrics, and Guilt in America." And you can find out more information about this case.
Touche. Look, man, there's so many things. Cause I came in here thinking like, dang, like if you did do something crazy, why would you ever put it on wax? Why? What is this thing about people telling on themselves? But like, even as you were talking, I started thinking, well, for example, let's make it real. There was a shooting in L.A. I won't say what part, but there was a shooting in L.A. 4 people died. I think 1 was injured. And let's pretend, I'm not saying it was because I don't know, but let's say there was gang affiliations. I think about all the little 13, 14-year-old white boys and girls who have now mastered the Crip Walk on Instagram Reels, you know? And I'm thinking, I have never heard a story about them being investigated for gang affiliations based on the media that they choose to produce and put out into the world.
That's a bar.
Right?
That's a bar.
Right? You made me think about like rock stars who have anti-government messages, who worship Satan, who talk about all sorts of shit, and like they're not in court for anything. There's no assumption of violence or crimes
in country music or any of that.
Right.
When you're talking about their drug use and their infidelities and their violences.
That's what I'm saying. And so now it's interesting. It's suspicious that this is where y'all sort of draw the line, right? Because why can't it be, just storytelling, right? And to your point about, the genre thing that judge in Louisiana said it'd be a young boy. It's so crazy to me because like most of hip hop in terms of the money and the economics, like I've been to a hip hop concert. And it's not mostly black people in there. It's mostly white folks. White folks are keeping hip-hop running from an economic standpoint.
Absolutely.
And guess what? White people as a collective are not suffering. They're not going up and shooting each other and this, that, and the third. But a lot of these white people are coming from the suburbs where violence isn't there.
With their bandanas and
right.
Crip walking.
They trying to get hood. Yeah. They trying to get hood in the safety of the suburbs because they know there are no repercussions for it, right? Whereas if I'm in a ghetto or low income environment, like I can relate to hip hop music because this is the stuff I'm seeing. This is not the stuff I want to happen. This is not the stuff I'm making happen. It's just happening to me. You think Rodney King wanted to get beat down by cops that day? But when NWA is saying F the police, it's not because Rodney King wanted to start something with the police. They beating him up. Yeah. And now everybody's seeing it. Oh yeah, F the police. It's the literal reflection.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but the funny thing is, those white folks in the suburbs, they get to say F the police because if they say F you to a cop, which is extremely disrespectful to the cop, it's like they know nothing's gonna happen because they're shielded by their suburbia and their whiteness, and so we got to remember all these things. To that judge, get it together, bro. Get it together. But yeah, man, I think that you made a really, really great case, and I appreciate you making the recommendations for our audience because we have to think more critically about this. Yeah. And do you remember? I know it was Jay-Z, Robin Thicke. Who are some of the people who were supporting it?
Kelly Rowland. I saw a Cash Page. There were a number of people. They didn't put all of the artist names. They put some of the artist names. But yeah, there was a number of entertainers and a number of academics.
Yeah.
That signed on to this bill, and it's being led by 2 state senators in New York.
Yeah, and look for all the people who want to judge, the rappers for talking about whatever they talk about in their lyrics. Also remember, today's show has been about the devil in the details, right? And you got to remember, if they can get targeted for their rap lyrics, how soon will it be before you can get targeted for an article that you write or something that you publish that's made a white person uncomfortable, that's made someone feel bad about LGBTQIA plus.
That incited a riot.
Right. So if hip hop is under attack, everything that's associated with progression,
blackness.
Right, and blackness can be under attack. So this is what we have to remember. It's not just these rappers. I don't care if they did do it. It's not about if they did do it or not. It's about this excuse to be able to attack them when it's not being applied to everybody within the same creative space. And so, like, what if they brought us to court for our podcast? We talk about you know, injustice and stuff. So I think we gotta leave people with that too, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.